This is the sound a McDonald's bag makes when you grab it. Now that just sounds like a paper bag, but to Nate, it sounds like... Because Nate hooked himself up like a champ and proved you can save on the delicious food you crave.
Choose 2 for $3, like a McChicken, hot and spicy McChicken, sausage burrito, or sausage McMuffin on the McDonald's $1, $2, $3 menu. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or any combo meal. Single item at regular price.
Blog Talk Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, leave it in the ring.
And welcome back to another edition of LIITR Ring Radio. I'm your host, Dave Duenez, with my co-host, Mr. Gabriel Montoya. Beautiful day, little muggy out here. The sun's not really out. The clouds are covering the sun rays, but still, it was really nice. Nice day to work. Nice day to be outside gardening. Nice day to open up a can of beer, relax and sit down and listen and leave it in the ring so we can talk some boxing. So for us fight fans, we had a really busy weekend of scheduled fights from FS1 to ESPN to DAZN. Some dull fights, but overall we had a good enough fights that we could review them here on today's show. But plus on today's show, we're gonna discuss the upcoming hit or more than likely miss heavyweight fights between Deontay Wilder and Dominic Breazeale and Tyson Fury and Tom Schwartz. I'm sorry, I was eating peanuts because I'm hungry. So, anyways, also on the show, going into the tweet universe, a very hopeful tweet from Mr. Top Rank himself, Bob Arum, tweeting that there's a strong possibility that if Crawford defeats Amir Khan, which is coming on pay-per-view, they're likely to try to cross the street to face Errol Spence Jr., who just got his win, a dominant win, also on PBC pay-per-view over Mikey Garcia. But before we get into all that, let's go to the reviews. Gabriel?
What's up, man? I'm sorry I was eating peanuts is one of the great non sequiturs of all time. I'm going to be using that all night. I
was eating peanuts.
We had some, last weekend we had a whole lot of fights happen.
Right.
It was like, I had left up the schedule from last week on my tab just because it was just so many fights. It was like you couldn't keep up, and it was on ESPN Plus. It was the Avalon stream, DAZN, ESPN Plus again, and then Sunday Fox Sports 1. It was like unbelievable how many fights there were. But then this weekend, it's going to be equally busy. And it's kind of incredible. There's like 25 fights happening this weekend. I'm not quite sure how you don't start a boxing league with this many fights, but with cards that are not exactly the most thrilling across the board. There's got to be a better way to do all this, and I don't think that we're actually headed there, but we'll get into it. Some of the highlights for the weekend. I thought you were talking about this before we went on the air. The KO of the weekend at the Leicester Arena in Leicester, I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it, Sam Maxwell, losing the fight, down a couple times early, comes back because he's getting taunted by Sabri Saderi with about 10 seconds left in the fight. He lands a home run punch and stops his man, who kind of rises to his feet but is completely out. Justice is served, Sam Maxwell comes away with the KO, reminding us all, keep your hands up. Don't taunt your opponent. Thursday night.
It was definitely a Nate Campbell moment when that happened.
Robbie Peaton, yeah. Yeah, hit me in the face. Oops, terrible idea. But even this was he was dancing in front of him, making fun of him. They were even non-boxing moves. They were child taunts, and then bang, he got hit, and just somebody shot him from a great distance, just flat on his back, staring at the lights.
Right. He was taking a page from those two YouTubers that decided to get in the ring and box. They were dancing before they threw a punch. It was really strange, funny, But
I didn't. I missed that. I don't. I don't watch YouTube fights. I guess I don't know. That's some sort of reference. As cooler as I am. Then Thursday, the Avalon, Hollywood, California. Juan Antonio Rodriguez KOs Mercita Hesta in 9. Dude didn't give up. Gave Mercita a lot of problems, and really seemed to be just able to kick it into another gear. Whereas Hesta, that's been the problem. Where's that other gear? It just never quite had it. It suffers the first KO loss of his career. Sunday night, we'll get to this. Actually, I'll jump. I'm jumping ahead of myself. Saturday night at the Centro Espectáculos del Reino Ferial in Metepec, Mexico. Andre Slinky Selby loses via body shot KO to Jose Cesar Martinez Aguilar. Selby was boxing well. He won the first 2. Then the headbutt in the third started a cut off of a clash of heads. Martinez lost a point for it. Slinky seemed to want to dance and box via Slinky. Martinez wanted to fight, and he finally got Selby to stay in front of him for far too long. A minute into the 5th, Martinez dropped Selby with left to the body to score the upset special of the weekend. At the hangar in Costa Mesa, California, Kubrat Pulev dropped Bogdan Dinu 3 times in the 7th to score the KO victory, surviving one of the nastiest cuts of the year so far, and I think he might take that honor away. Suffered a brutal cut off of a punch in the 4th. The right hand just exploded. It was like a kind of a splintered shot that or a cut that I think is going to keep him out for quite a long time. He's the mandatory for Joshua, but with a cut that bad, you're going to want that thing to heal for a good long while before stepping back in. Pulev suffered a point loss for hitting Dinu when he was down on the back of the head. This was the 7th round, and this kind of got things started. And then there was 2 more knockdown off the hands. Dinu was given time to recover, but never really recovered off of those brutal shots. Particularly back of the head, it seemed like that was like the pile driver that really got him going. And the guy just. But to me, it was like Pulev was bleeding so badly that he just decided to step it up with the jab in the right hand, just like, I'm going to cave my way through your guard and just kind of beat you down. And he got it done, man. Kudos to him.
When you talk about
go time with that blood,
it was, and that's the thing. When you talk about having a second gear, well, I guess that doesn't. We've never seen it. He's always been a hopeful, but we've never seen that second gear. Pulev, we did because of all the blood. I think he was aware, like, hey, this is a big gash. There's blood all over the place. Strong possibility the ref can stop it, and it could sway to the other guy. So he took it upon to take it on his own hands and make sure that he had a secure victory. So intense moments for him.
There was action just all over the place, man. Lawrence Oakley unified the British and Commonwealth cruiserweight titles. He moves to 12-0 with 9 KOs. Just looking at the different results. Andrew Maloney knocked out Miguel Gonzalez in the WBA eliminator, and now he's in line for a shot at Khalid Yaffe to be an exciting fight. There's you pick poison, but there was Sunday night was really the fight of the weekend and the end of an era in a sense. At the MGM Grand, or the MGM National Harbor, I should say, and Oxon Hill, and Sergey Lipinets TKO'd and retired Lamont Peterson in 10 rounds. His longtime trainer threw in the towel for Peterson. He hit the canvas, I should say, pretty hard there in that final round. It's a brutal phone booth kind of fight, and this shows you how long I've been off the beat. I didn't know Joe Goosen had picked up Sergey Lipinets, who's kind of bounced around at different gyms. He's a bit of a road warrior in that regard, and a guy that travels with no entourage, but is just all warrior. I think that really suits the Joe Goosen style. They came inside. Not a lot of jabs in this fight. It was really a phone war of attrition, and Lipinets moving up to 147. He says he feels very strong. He's not, it's boxing, not bodybuilding. He doesn't look muscle bound or anything, but he sure looked durable and dangerous and stopping a game, but ultimately overmatched. And I guess since he retired right after the fight, over the hill, Lamont Peterson. Dave?
Yeah, the thing about Lamont Peterson is that it's slick. In the beginning of his career, he was a slick fighter, and I remember back when people would complain that he was kind of boring. It was his brother that more or less got the applause. And this was back in like 07, 08 when he really was labeled as a slick fighter. And if you look at his whole career, he doesn't have one fight that kind of stands out. He didn't get that one defining win. The one win that he did receive over Amir Khan was kind of tainted later. But if anything, here's a guy, his ledger of opponents speaks volumes. You know, his willingness to face the best, to best the fans over and to test his skills and heart, it should leave a legacy of respect, in my opinion. When hearing Lamont was going to fight, when you heard Lamont was going to fight, it made you go get a bowl of popcorn and a six-pack was chilled in the refrigerator because you knew it was going to be a great show. I don't know any other way but to applaud the guy, because when you want to see a fighter that's willing to give themselves completely to the ring and to the sport, Lamont Peterson comes to mind. I mean, has the guy really ever been in a bad fight after 09? You look at his resume, and think about it. In 09 December, he fought Timothy Bradley, which he lost, on a unanimous decision. Then he got in a year later in 2010, on December as well, against Victor Ortiz. And I don't know if you remember that fight. That was a phone booth fight as well, and it ended up becoming a draw.
Yeah.
And then he gets in a year later. He fights Amir Khan, and he gets a split decision over him. And that was also a very entertaining fight. I mean, he was taking some major shots from Amir Khan, and he was giving back some heavy body shots and some, it was a gruesome fight. Too bad.
He was also on testosterone.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why I said that his biggest win, his most notable win, which would have really stood out in the minds of fans, it's been erased because it was tainted because of that very reason. So even himself, I think he was aware of that. I think he was suspended, if I remember correctly, right, Gabriel? Because he was out of boxing for like 2 years before making his comeback. And he gets in with Kendall Holt, which was in 2013 in February, and he gets a TKO over Kendall Holt. Then immediately after that, in May of 2013, he gets knocked out, a TKO against Lucas Matisse. And everybody kind of, erased him off. I think a lot of people were even thinking like, okay, he's done. He got caught. It's kind of over for him, right? And then he steadily came back for like 2014 where he fought like twice.
Well, and remember, going back to the Kendall Holt fight, there was an irregular drug test after the fight. And it was reported that it was Lamont Peterson. And so like any shine that he had, trying to come back and he gets KO, win, and everybody's like, whatever, with the drug test. But it turned out it was Kendall Holt that had the adverse result. So, they go on. I mean, so he still hasn't got respect back at this point. Then he loses a knockout, and everybody's like, see?
Exactly. So then he kind of like, slowly came back into the scene in 2014, if you remember that. He fought twice. He got the wins. And then he gets the big announcement, hey, you're going to get in the ring in 2015 April to fight Danny Garcia. Now, he lost a majority decision, but many thought, and I think he won his respect because many thought he won that fight against Danny Garcia, right? So then after that fight, when he didn't get the decision, well, he went on another layoff. And in 2016, we didn't see him. Then he comes back in 2017 against David Avanesian, and he gets a win over him on unanimous decision. That's only one time. He fights one time. Then he comes back in 2018 in January, and he fights against Errol Spence Jr., and he loses that fight. I mean, you talk about names, and you talk about fights, and you talk about the who's and in the divisions. I mean, the guy's got in with everybody, and I think he's always fought to win the respect of fight fans, to get his name out there, and a lot of times these guys are the ones that make up the sport, in my opinion, because they are left with the crumbs. They have to take what's available, so they have to test themselves. They really have to go out there and prove they deserve to be in the ring with some of the best fighters in the world. Gabriel?
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird career though. All those long layoffs. You're like, why did you fight David Evanesian and then not fight again until like the next year? The stuff like that was just kind of strange to me. It's. I think he's going to be remembered as a warrior. People are really piling on and loving it. Loving the guy. But that over Amir Khan, it doesn't have an asterisk on it on BoxRec. He still has that split decision win.
He does.
He won it in hometown. His hometown commission isn't going to take that title from him. Isn't going to take that win from him because he passed their 4-to-1 TE ratio. They didn't catch him with testosterone, and at that time, it was VADA. It was their very first sample collected, the very first client, and it was Lamont Peterson's idea to hire VADA, and they caught the fact that he had a testosterone pellet in his hip, which he freely told them after the fact. He didn't volunteer that up front, or the testing probably would have never began. He wouldn't have made it through the paperwork phase.
Was that the first fight, or was that the rematch? I thought it was the rematch.
It was the first fight.
It was the first fight.
It was remember, it was a slow release pellet that was still in his system when they decided to do the rematch. He signed with Golden Boy, I think after this. Yeah, after this. But they do the rematch, and we do the interview at the press conference in Los Angeles. We talk about VADA there. I bring up the fact that what they do different is they test for testosterone on every sample. I actually asked him about it. He's like, I don't really know the particulars of what they do. I just know that they're the best. That they were the ones I wanted to go with. They seemed more independent. Which, if you think about it, for a fighter to be saying that while being involved with Golden Boy at that time, they were, already doing into USADA. This was coming after that. Remember, and this was the first time when Richard Schaefer, I asked him, well, what's the difference? I heard that USADA costs $100,000, and he nodded. He didn't say yes on the record. He nodded. I was recording. But then I said, VADA is I heard a quarter of that, which turned out to be it's like 19,000 or something like that for fighters. And he said, yeah, that's one of the reasons we did it. So that was all this first fight. The first sample collected at that press conference from both guys, Lamont Peterson's came up positive. And I'd heard it thrown that maybe they got their samples switched or this, that, and the other thing. But, the fact is that he ultimately said, hey, I've got this pellet that we got put in from Dr. John A. Thompson at the Desert Oasis Clinic in Las Vegas. And I interviewed with that guy, and he tried to tell it was organic. And I'm like, yeah, that doesn't matter. It's still banned. And tried to explain, well, it's made from hams. I'm like, yeah, that's how exogenous testosterone's made. And it's just, dead silence. So they had it in them. But here's the thing, to bring all that up, it's interesting about Lamont Peterson, that these long layoffs, but that so late in his career, 2015, he decides to move to welterweight and go above 140. The whole reason they went to that clinic is because he was fatigued. He was training with 2-a-days and 7 days a week sometimes. And he was fatigued, and I think his endocrine system was messed up, or from making the weight of 140 because he was so much cutting down to that weight. I'm not sure, but there's something to be learned in the story of weight, the story of that, why he took the drug, why he felt he needed it in the prime of his career. But I don't believe that he took it to gain an edge. I think there was something legitimately wrong with him, and they didn't quite figure it out. And this was also during the heyday of when testosterone was being pushed like this by all the pharmaceutical companies. So that's how I look at him. But all of this, I've been thinking about this today. Out of all the people that did test positive, at least that I covered, he was the guy that was the most forthcoming, and his whole team was the most forthcoming. We didn't interview him, I think, till another year later, one-on-one. But I talked to his coach, his doctor, and his manager all about it. So that was also something that the other athletes should learn from. Is it's better to just come right out and talk about it than not. But yeah, I don't know. That's what I think about when I'm thinking of Lamont Peterson. But all heart, all fight, always brings it. I was there ringside for him versus Tim Bradley. Hell of a fight. His body attack, his inside game was and just his willingness to mix it up was It's just a rare thing to see in person or on TV.
Yeah, I mean, he really, I mean, he fought like a guy that you would think that would have power, and he really didn't. I mean, he had power enough to make you respect him, but it wasn't that crunching power that made people go backwards, you know. And Lipinets stood there toe to toe, and this was his game. That was his ballpark, you know. If you really think about Peterson, you would have thought that Peterson would have backed off and tried to box. He was a taller, lankier guy at 5'9".
But I remember at times, but he was stuck in the mud, dude. He's
always been
old.
stuck in the mud, though. I mean, I remember having him on. Remember having him on.
He's like Velcro. Like, you know, you get near him and then he's like all over you. He's just, you know, but like he's got his guard, but like he's leaning on you. He's hitting you with his elbows. Like this was a toe the line fight, you know, who's going to come off the block. And I thought after the first 3 rounds it was going to be Lipinets, but the middle of the fight was kind of Peterson, didn't you think? And then it turned. It
turned because, like I said, that's Lipinets' ballpark. You know, those what he wants. He wants those heavy hits. He wants to make the home runs. You know, I think the problem with Peterson, and we talked to him and Barry years ago, and I remember telling Barry, like, now that Lamont's kind of changed his style, is it hard for him to switch back? And he said, yeah, it is. You know, it's frustrating because you want him to box. You know he can box, but he's kind of fallen into this mode of he wants to be in the pocket. He wants to trade body shots. He wants to trade uppercuts, and it ended up leading him to be retired. He retired him quick. Well, he didn't retire him quick because, you know, I mean, he was getting up there in age. But you know what? If anything, if you want to go out in your career, I think he went out like every other warrior. He fought his ass off, but you know what? He just couldn't keep it in there anymore. His chin's been pretty solid, but Lipinets was his night, and
293 rounds, dude.
Yeah, that's a lot.
To 121
of rounds,
for Lipinets. You know what I mean? Like that's You know, Lipinets can do that for a few more fights, standing in there like that. But I think, you know, he's not. What do you think about him versus the rest of the welterweight field?
I don't know yet. I haven't even really looked at the landscape of the whole welterweight division of what they would want to do next and where they would want to go. I can tell you this: I don't want to see Errol Spence in him. Not right now.
No.
You know, and I think if anything, Joe. Well, it's really out of his hands because it's all management, you know. But I think they would want to go a different route. Still continue to. I mean, that's a good run in the beginning to test the waters to go against Lamont Peterson. I think the broadcast had even brought it up that he's he's a gatekeeper. If you can get past him, you're probably going to do much better. Because, you know, Lamont's not one to give you the key right away. He fought to hold on to that key, you know. And I applaud his career, man. Regardless of what has happened from you know, with Amir Khan and et cetera, I look at the rest of his career and I look at, hey, the guy really had to take whatever was out there because he wanted the respect of the fans because it had been tarnished for what happened later, you know, earlier in his career. So hats off to you, Lamont. You know, well deserved. Rest up. Enjoy the rest of your next chapter of life, and hopefully we get to speak to him soon or see him back. Maybe he can come back, do some commentating. I don't know, do something in boxing. You know, maybe start up a gym. How about Barry train some of these kids that are walking through the gym? You know, we still need fighters to step out there and get in that ring to continue this sport. So. So let me ask you this: Did you get a chance to see Bob Arer's tweet?
I did.
How real do you think that was? How real do you think that was, man? Let me read it really quick before you even put your input in that. You know what I mean? So just in case somebody's tuning in, they're like, "I didn't see the tweet. What happened? What's going on with the tweet?" You know? Let me see. Let me bring it up really quick here. Here on Leaving the Ring, man.
I just think, you know, well, somebody's, you know, got control of Bob's Twitter account.
Errol Spence Jr. said that he's ready to fight Terrence Crawford. We are ready to do the next once Bud is successfully against Amir Khan on April 20th. It's what fight fans want. Al, should I call you or you will call me? Premier Boxing. That's his tweet. That's Al's tweet out there to the tweet universe. I don't know.
Bob's
How
tweet.
real is it? Bob's tweet. Hey, listen, look, here's the thing.
It's just, I think what they're doing is calling Spence out because Spence, Spence came out, there's an article on Boxing Scene, interview, article by Keith Eidick saying, Pacquiao Floyd was made, Crawford fight happened. But he says, Spence said, it's just going to take everybody to cooperate. He said this after he beat Garcia. I mean, we got Porter, he wants to fight, and then we got Thurman, who has a belt, and then, the most difficult fight to be made is the Terrence Crawford fight. So, I don't know how that's going to get made. I mean, it's for Bob to talk to, Mine and Al, and they do an agreement. But, the Manny Pacquiao-Floyd fight was made, so, I think it'll happen. And off of that, Bob Arum's Twitter account, not necessarily Bob Arum, is like, should we call you or you're going to call us? I think it's just that. It's just kind of talking back in the in the Twitter sphere. It's going to drive some clicks, and I'm sure there are boxing writers at this very moment rushing to finish their article about Bob Arum's tweet. Or their videos, with special effects and everything, green screen, the whole works. But that fight's not going to happen until welterweight. That's all. That whole ball. All the ball are in Al Heyman's court. He's got his own network. He's got Fox, the FS1, the Showtime. He can go pay-per-view if he wants to. And he's got Sean Porter, Keith Thurman, Manny Pacquiao, and Errol Spence Jr. He doesn't need Terrence Crawford. And all the tweets in the world and all the trends and whatever ratings board, all that stuff. The fantasy boxing stuff, none of that matters. It doesn't matter. Pound for pound, none of that. It just doesn't matter. The fight won't happen until it's the biggest fight to be made. And honestly, is Errol Spence Jr. versus Terrence Crawford? How well do you think it'll do? This year versus say a year from now when that business is settled. I think it's going to be Thurman and Pacquiao and Porter and Spence, and then the winner of that. The winner of those two fight each other. And then the winner of that, maybe Floyd comes back, probably not. Or there's a rematch depending on how those fights go. There's, Danny Garcia is maybe gets in the mix with the winner of that if that's a fresh matchup. There's just so many more possibilities in the PBC universe. They don't need Terrence Crawford. The only thing I would do if I was Al Heyman if I had Spence, I would go fight Terrence Crawford because I think Spence has a very good chance of beating him and or knocking him out. And then you kind of hurt Top Rank and ESPN. So if you're ruthless like that, you make the fight. But I don't think he is. I think he's smart.
I think Al is smart as well, because like you said, if you look at the
that's
PBC,
yeah.
If you look at their map, there's a lot of roads that they can keep going off. There's so many avenues that they can continue to do stuff. With Bob, if you remember this, it took 5 years for Mayweather and Pacquiao to happen, And
I remember.
Yeah, you remember, right? And Bob, to me, he normally doesn't start looking outside of his backyard until he's kind of exhausted all of his resources. And if he does work with anybody, if he does bring anybody into his world, it's really the smaller promoters that are looking for a TV package where he has complete control. 2015, Bob Arum filed a $100 million federal antitrust lawsuit against Al Heyman, and then they settled it in 2016. So, and the terms were confidential. So I don't know if Al Heyman has really kind of forgot about that, and as well as why would Al need him? You mentioned all the reasons why. He doesn't really need Bob Arum. So I sat there and I was like, how real is this Bob Arum tweet is? Has he ran out of the resources? Is that why he's now kind of tweeting out there? Or is this just like a bait type of thing, bait and click type of deal?
Yeah, it's a bait and click. That's perfectly said. That's all it is, dude. I just don't think it's just not its time. No wine before it's time. And this fight, it just ain't time. We all feel like it is, but how can Spence be an overrated welterweight if he couldn't put away Mikey Garcia, or an unproven welterweight heading into the Mikey Garcia fight, but then also Spence Crawford is the fight to make? I want him to run the gauntlet of his own house before venturing out. I think it makes sense for the fight. And I'd like to see Terrence Crawford do more. How about that?
More, you said?
Yeah. I'd like to see him do more. I've seen him do, stuff at
Well, at 147, because that's something that Bob's really
Amir Khan is not. That's not going to tell me anything. I'm sorry. Shit. Amir's a nice guy. I run the risk of him thinking I'm a jerk for saying so. But come on. Am I really supposed to think that he's going to beat Terrence Crawford off of wins over Phil Logreco and Sammy Vargas? I mean, with the distance, he didn't blow him out. I guess maybe there's no shame in that, but. I'm not saying there's shame in fighting Sammy Vargas. I don't know. He just went the distance with Louis Collazo. So maybe that's high quality enough to beat Terrence Crawford, but probably not. I mean, he's got the tools, but Amir's also shown propensity for getting, knocked out.
Amir has still shown that
I need more from
right.
I need more from Terrence Crawford than that fight.
Right, and I think the proven point for Amir Khan is he's proven that he still doesn't know how to just grab this receipt and leave. He stays there too long to look at the receipt, and that's what gets him in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff Horn, what he did in that fight was very impressive. He took a rough style and didn't allow it to be rough. And I guess that's what I'm saying about Amir Khan and Sammy Vargas. It's like, to me, I wanted that win. To me, it's just more of like a career potential fulfilled. It wasn't, and the dude's been shot. It's just like I don't think a lot of that win. And now we're doing Amir Khan pay-per-view, right? Is it pay-per-view? Yeah.
It is pay-per-view.
So I more. And to me, it's like, of course he wants to do a Spence fight next. They saw what they just did. Maybe they want access. I mean, I think that they'd do very well on. I mean, there would definitely be another pay-per-view. So we'll see how Terrence Crawford does against Amir Khan. Maybe this is also just clickbait, to sell that fight, which is coming up on 420. It's not too far off. So I don't know. I just don't think it's that fight's not going to happen anytime soon. And if I learn anything from Pacquiao Mayweather, it's just like patience. And to not bang the same drum over and over again, unless it's drug testing.
Oh, it is frustrating. Well, this past week, we also got the news about Deontay Wilder. He is going to be facing Dominic Breazeale, which I think we already knew. The money that he left on the table was a big issue among fight fans, among writers, among everybody that watches boxing. And then Tyson Fury, no surprise there. He's going to be getting an undefeated heavyweight prospect, Tom Schwartz. Let me ask you, out of the two from Brazil and Schwartz, who has got a better record and who do you think has more of a chance to win? I got to agree with everybody out there. I don't think neither one of them do. They're not two very good fights. But if I had to pick one that I was going to watch, I'm probably going to go with the undefeated guy, even though Brazil's got, he's got Amir Mansour on his resume, who he beat. He lost to Anthony Joshua, but I just don't know, man. I mean, Wilder is that wild card where, he was out-jabbed by Gerald Washington. He had a tough time with Tyson Fury. So I guess you can give Breazeale that slight chance, right? But I just don't see it because Wilder has that eraser. I don't know about you. Did you take any time and check out either one of these guys and see what you think?
Well, I've been suffering through the career of Dominic Breazeale for quite some time, but he's been foisted on me. I mean, I jibe, I jest. He's 20-1. 1 KO loss, 18 wins by way of knockout, though. No shame in losing KO in 7 to Anthony Joshua back in 2016. He's rattled off 3 wins since that, all by stoppage of he had a technical decision loss over an 8 over Eric Molina, and in his last fight, KO 9 against Carlos Negron. But none of that tells me he's going to beat Deontay Wilder, with the exception of the fact that Wilder, like you just pointed out, is that he's kind of got a wild card factor about him, in that he's got the eraser, but then it's like you forget how to box sometimes. And, even when you remember, he's not actually, Captain Smooth in there. What we would call a technician. He is something of a knockout artist, though, because they all are kind of unusual, each one of the times that he starts. And it can come at an odd angle that you wouldn't expect. To me, that Brazil versus Wilder, also because of the personal aspect of it, that they both really just can't stand each other, can't wait to get at each other. I think it's a can't-miss fight. I did watch Tom Schwartz. I watched a couple fights, but he's going to be there for Fury to kind of do what Fury does, which is kind of jab, feint. He'll start with a triple feint, come in with a few jabs, move away. He's just like a giant cutie. He's not looking to do anything but win each minute of each 3-minute round, and just do that all fight long. And he has no problem going the distance. For me, ESPN and Top Rank, it's going to be, what they bought is a guy that gives fantastic interviews and has a potential for boring fights.
This is going to be a boring fight against Tom.
I think it's going to be a pretty boring fight, because I think Schwartz is going to be durable, and he's going to be there, a bit of a puzzle to be solved. He's going to be game, and so it's going to bring out all the elusiveness of one Tyson Fury.
Here's the thing about Schwartz, is if you look at his ledger of guys that he's faced, they've all been shorter than him. They've all came forward. If you do connect with them and you do get rough with him, he can pull that acting card. I saw that when he fought Gashi. He got headbutted, and right away he just dropped down. He did the Bernard Hopkins roll. He doesn't like he doesn't like it rough.
Top drop and get my corner man over there to stop this thing.
Yeah, the majority of his fights have been in his backyard in Germany. So this is a little bit different, and he's going to be fighting a guy that, if you watch Schwartz, he likes to get on his toes. He likes to have this little bouncy rhythm. But he's going to be fighting a guy that is his style, Tyson Fury. Tyson likes to use the whole corners of all the ring. He likes to move around. He likes to flick the jab. So I see it's going to be a Tyson Fury night. It's going to be a Tyson Fury fight, and it's going to be a Tyson Fury bore, in my opinion. The one that Brazil and Wilder is going to be far much more fun. Why? Even the backstory is a lot of fun. These guys do not like each other. They hate each other, and I think we're going to see that comes fight night. But with Tyson Fury, there's got to be a little bit more. Tom Schwartz, the only thing mean about him is his plucked eyebrows that I see so far.
He does give really good stare down. I think it's going to be tough. It'll be tough for Tyson. A little Drago to him. But then, the camera pulls back, and you're like, he's about an A cup. He's, not exactly an Adonis in that regard. It's a little doughy. And he kind of plods forward. He's gotten better. I watched actually a progression of fights, and it seemed to me that I found some little highlights and stuff. He's gotten a little bit better over the years and learned how to fight taller over the years. He's 6'5.5", but he was kind of crowding himself at a certain point. So I think he can be competitive. We're going to find out what he's like at the top level. But I
think it is going to be a more competitive, boring fight than expected. I think that because of the letdown that Tyson Fury is not going to face Wilder or any other top 5 heavyweight, that everybody's crapping on this fight because they don't know much about the undefeated prospect guy that's beaten other undefeated prospect heavyweights that nobody knows about. But I think that we're going to see something from Tom Schwartz where we're like, oh wow, this is this is not going to be a blowout. As much as I think the Wilder and Brazil fight can end up, because all it takes is Wilder to land one wild big shot, and that's it. It's the end of the story. But I kind of tend to believe that Wilder's going to go out there and make this a really hard hard win because he, Wilder fights with his heart on his sleeve, man. He does. Even when he fought Tyson, he fought a semi-disciplined fight, but once he lets himself go and he lets those emotions build up, I mean, that's it. He's on fire. And that's kind of got him out of hard situations sometimes. He's behind on the scorecards, and then when he says, well, I'm going to let all my emotions just ball up and, I'm going to ball dragging through this, he ends up burning the other guy and getting him out of there, So, but I go back again, which one's the more interesting fight? Brazil and Wilder. Schwartz and Fury?
Schwartz.
Yeah.
It's
Schwartz.
like, may the Schwartz be with you. Yeah.
Dude, that's
pretty
the
sure.
first I thought.
I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
Pretty sure. He actually, doesn't he look like kind of gave him the fighter's nose? He's like, I'm just looking at his box rec picture. It's Eddie Hearn.
He does. Let me look at that picture. I have to look. He does. Holy smokes. That might be Eddie Hearn's little brother.
Alter ego?
Alter ego. There you go.
It's like that Three Identical Strangers documentary. He's separated and they turned him into a heavyweight.
Yeah, he was the team of the Test Lab kids, right? That means you know what? That tells us there's a third one out there, man. But Fight Fan, do you want to call in? Certainly can. 247-215-7598. Let's talk boxing here on Leaving the Ring. Let's talk about any topic you guys want to bring up this past weekend or this week coming up fights. You absolutely can. Gabriel, let's open up those phone lines.
510, you're live on the Leaving in the Ring.
Hey, Gabe. Hey, Dave. Fernando here, Richmond. How you guys doing?
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
I had a great weekend, man. I was in the South this weekend, South Carolina, hanging out with the
that's
family
really
on a farm. I was like, pruning trees and cutting down brush. And I saw a buzzard in its nest, which was they nest on the ground. They put their eggs.
Did you get
on
to see a grand wizard?
I have not. Well, I might have. I saw one this morning. There was a guy with a Trump sticker in front of me. He might have been a grand wizard. I'm not sure. How you doing, Fernando? How was your weekend?
Good. No, good, man. Good. The weather was nice up until today, so everything's good, man. Just, enjoying the weather, man. Or not today though, but the weekend was nice.
Did you watch all the fights, Fernando, or no?
Yeah, I did. Dude, you know what I wanted to see, and they didn't show him, was that Tommy Fury. Speaking of the Furies, I was kind of hoping that his fight would be on ESPN Plus, but they didn't show this fight for some reason. I was just curious. I mean, I'm not like super excited about him, but I was curious, and they didn't broadcast that fight for some reason. At least I missed it. Did you guys know?
Huh.
You know what I'm talking about, right? Tommy Fury, right? He was on the undercard this weekend?
Yeah, I did. I didn't catch it. I'm still catching up, man. Like I said, I was on the farm.
Yeah.
So, it was a ton of fights, and obviously the best one was the Peterson-Lipinets fight last night. That was the best one. But, it was cool. Like, that heavyweight fight was hella good, too, man. The Duenez versus Pulev.
Man,
I actually enjoyed that fight. Yeah. It's always fun watching the big boys go at it, man. And
it was nice watching the big boys not run out of gas and like be in a crisis situation and respond in a way that was like awesome. That he was just like, all right, I can't fight this whole fight with this kind of cut. I gotta get this guy out of here. And Dino kind of shot his shot. He kind of shot his load at him. And tried to get him out of there. He got all excited about the blood, and then it just kind of turned around on him. It was a hell of a fight.
It was.
Yeah,
it was a good fight.
It's a nice thing, right? About like where we're at nowadays, right? As we were compared to maybe a couple years ago, where there wasn't any fights, right? Now we're getting so many fights, we can be a little bit more picky and choosy about them, But I'm just enjoying them. I'm enjoying the world we're living in now, man. ESPN Plus, The Zone, and PBC. I'm cool with it. I always think it's kind of weird with the PBC. That everybody else is kind of like trying to go get it, right? Like you see like Eddie Hearn making offers, trying to get guys to fight his guys. Same thing with Top Rank. I mean, it might be all talk, right? But they've made some legitimate offers. And the PBC, they never do that. They never like try to make a fight with anybody outside their bubble ever.
They don't need to though. They don't really need to though. I mean, they kind of concentrated what they have. The divisions that they have, if you kind of notice that, I mean, their welterweight division is stacked with names. So I don't really see them trying to. I mean, the only time I saw them really kind of trying to work with other guys is when Tom Lawfer and K2 had Klitschko's, and they had to make the Chris the Nightmare Oriella fight. But they don't have. I can't think of a PBC heavyweight right now. There's one coming up that is coming up in the rankings, right, Gabriel? The one that you're stoked up about he's with the PBC, right?
Joe Joyce, and actually it was just ordered. I think Joe Joyce versus Daniel Dubois, who's actually the Joe Joyce is not the guy that I'm big on. Daniel Dubois is the guy I'm big on. But people really do like. People do really like that fight. I mean, really do like that fighter. I think that's a really exciting fight. I'm trying to see what the date is for that fight.
I mean, to me, kind of hit.
What's that? Go ahead.
I was about to say, I feel like George Joyce kind of already hit his ceiling already, man. He kind of reminds me of that guy from New Zealand that won the championship a couple years ago. I can't think of his name offhand, but they're kind of similar fighters. Yeah, they're slow. They're not really aggressive, and when they do win, it's usually by 1 or 2 points, but not by a knockout. So I'm not really excited about Joe Joyce at all. I know people kind of trying to jump on that bandwagon, but I'm not. Going back to what Dave was talking about, I'm thinking more in terms like Deontay Wilder, right? He's like fielding all these offers from DAZN and ESPN, like to get him to fight. Why isn't the PBC being more aggressive on that level? You know what I mean? Because there really is nobody else for Deontay to fight for the kind of money he wants, man. That's the only good thing about the whole situation is for those guys to make the kind of money they want to make, it's going to have to be against each other, Like Top Rank can't play four corners the whole contract.
I would say though it's fair that we don't know what's under the iceberg. All we see, the decision is like, I'm not going to take these fights that are $100 million, and they're all kind of flat fee. Maybe he thinks he can develop into a bigger brand, and he's trusting a brain trust that got Floyd, like many articles said, $700 million.
Where's the counter offers? That's what I'm wondering. Like, there's no, you don't hear about counter offers. Like,
the guy that you're dealing with is Al Heyman, who doesn't do interviews. So to me, it's like everybody's kind of judging off of what he's not taking, but they don't really see the other side of it. And I really do wonder about the Heyman fighters. I've heard a few times that it's like what's reported is not actually what the guy gets. Like he usually gets more for some reason. But it's kind of more off the books, So I don't know. We'll see what they do with him. But Al doesn't need anybody outside of his universe. He's been able to sell the PBC yet again, get another TV deal. He's got a European TV deal, going as well. He doesn't really need all these other guys unless it's completely to his advantage to do it. And they're not willing to make those kind of offers. That'll really make it worth his while.
It's not Al Heyman's fault, man. It seems like his fighters are the ones that don't want to take the fights, right? Like, you never really hear about Al Heyman standing in the way of a fight. I think it's his fighters who don't like. They should have fights a long time ago. The welterweight, they should have fights a long time ago in the PBC.
Yeah, it's ridiculous that Errol Spence is 29 and he's having his first kind of superstar fight. I guess the Kell Brook fight would be the first one, but like his second one, and it's against a guy moving up from lightweight. Instead of why hasn't he just gone through the buzzsaw of his stable, or been the buzzsaw in his stable? It is. It's really maddening. You're just kind of what a waste of a career. And even Wilder, I feel like they should have moved him better and different. It is a product of that weird Heyman style, or that model, where he's the promoter behind the scenes. And he controls everything, and at the same time, the fighter doesn't really seem to grow the way he does with a Top Rank.
No,
but
that's always been our criticism about PBC is that they figured out how to get the funds, they figured out how to get the TV deals, but they really haven't figured out how to develop a fighter. But at the same time, he's a smart businessman. He strategically has a plan of how he's going to get certain things moved around to make the most money. Wilder, to me, still got some fights out there. I think they could still, after the Brazil fight, I think they could still sell an Ortiz rematch. And then I think the same thing where how Bob does things is he gets most money because they've already, marketed their fighters so much that now people are pounding at the table asking for certain fights. I think Al is taking a page from Bob Arum by saying, let's not do it. Let's not go this route. Let's wait, just like what he did with Floyd. Because if you have to blame Bob about the Pacquiao fight, you got to blame Al as well about the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight not happening sooner. Anyways, brother, hey, Fernando, thanks for calling in, man. We got a lot of calls, so we're going to patch them in, man. Thank you, bro.
Hey, man, peace. Let's go 787. You're live on Leave It in the Ring.
Yo, what up, Dave? What up, Gabe?
Hey, what's
going on, my man?
Yo, listen, man. First of all, Brazil is trash. The heavyweight division is in recession. No, I'm playing. Nobody cares about these fights. But nah, man. Real talk. The only fight I'm really looking at. Oh man, the only fight I really care about right now, honestly, if Amir Khan's chin wasn't made out of wet cotton, I would be really excited for the Crawford fight. But sadly, his chin gives out at the first impact of wind blowing at him, so I'm not really going to put too much attention on it. But
Did you say it was made out of buttons?
No. No, I said it was made out of wet cotton.
I was going to say, hit them right on the button. There's a bunch of them. They're just all over the place.
Oh, man.
If it was made out of buttons, it might have some durability to it. Some of these buttons are hard out here. But, nah, I don't know. If he could take a few shots, I would. But I just feel like he's just gonna get clipped, and guys like Crawford that hit fast and can hide their shots pretty well. I don't really I'm not gonna put too much bank onto Crawford because I haven't really seen him against dogs. You know what I'm saying? Like we haven't seen him in a dog fight against like he fought Yuriorkis Gamboa, who's smaller than him, and Yuriorkis was kind of like just taking whatever fights he could at the time, and Yuriorkis was pinging him a few times. So I don't know. Like, I don't want to put too much bank on Crawford.
Well, can I argue about Amir Khan? Let me just throw my 2 cents in here, but they can jump right behind me on now. The only argument I can have about Amir Khan is that even when he's got hurt and dropped, the guy does get back up and he tries his hardest. I mean, he's been in some really dog fights, so that might.
He got the heart of a lion.
He does,
There's no question,
ahead,
dude. Like I met him, I think his first day at the gym at Wild Card. I've told this a million times over the last 10 years of this show, but those of you just joining us, I met him there, and like he said exactly that to me. He was like kind of working out, and he was like working the speed bag, and I asked him, it was just after his loss to Brady Prescott, his first loss, lost like a minute, and just finds out that he has a questionable chin, and I just asked him, do you want that rematch? And like he stopped immediately and just looked at me and said, I have the heart of a lion. Absolutely, I do. And he's never even a bad fight. He does have a tough style. He's a tall, rangy guy. He moves. He's as fast as any human being I've ever seen. I saw Pacquiao in his prime, and I saw Amir Khan when he was at that gym, super fast. He might have been faster than any. Could be a problem. But
yeah.
But he's got that fatal flaw. He loses focus in his fights, and then he gets hit with something he doesn't see coming, and he's all discombobulated.
I've always said this about Amir.
Is it a pay-per-view fight?
Amir's hands are a lot faster than his feet, and that's what gets him in trouble.
I mean, it's kind of like he gets trigger happy. Like, I think he knows how fast he is. He knows the type of shots he can land, the type of combos he can kind of get away with, and he's always pushing the bill. It's kind of like you said, he looks at the receipt too long, and I think he just jumps in and out too much. I think he's a little too aggressive for the type of chin he has. If he was a little bit more defensive, I think he would get better outcomes, but he wants to be that exciting fighter. He likes to take the fans out of their seats a lot, and people know that when they watch a Amir Khan fight, they're going to get that thriller. They're going to get that chance of a knockout. So
he should just watch a million Hopkins fights.
Of course.
to tuck that chin.
Amir Khan's talented. Yeah, he's so talented. He's so talented. But and honestly, if it wasn't for his chin, I would be favoring him against Crawford and a lot of fighters, honestly, because Amir Khan is just so fast. He's so fast. But his chin is just forward.
But his toughness, I mean, because he's been stopped times, but it's like he gets caught with that big shot and then doesn't recover. But against Maidana, I saw that fight recently. My gym always plays fights, and they played that one, and he got hurt, but he was really tough all through it. There's no question. I mean, maybe he's too tough for his own good. I think the Canelo fight, that was just he just reached way too high. I could understand what he was seeing with his style. I could see what he thought he could do. But it's that fatal flaw. I think the flaw is that he loses a focus. Like Brady Prescott, it was like the fight was just getting going, and all of a sudden it's hurt.
I mean, he was taking some really good shots in the Canelo fight. He took a lot of left hooks that I didn't think he was going to take well at all, and he kind of just shrugged them off. But once that right hand came behind his jab, it was kind of like it was over. Like he just didn't see it. And he was honestly, if I remember correctly, he was dominating that fight for the most part. It looked like he was kind of just shutting Canelo out, and then that shot landed. So the Prescott fight was tough. The Crawford fight, I'm definitely going to watch it.
It was a cub. It was like watching a cub though fighting a lion. Amir's got the heart, but he was in the wrong division because he was scratching, but it only took a claw to knock him out from Canelo. So like I said, Amir always
was kind of like
a
mace to the face. I mean, that was it
was, dude.
It was like swinging a rock. My goodness, that was a shot.
I mean, but we saw Gennady take that exact same shot multiple times in their fight. Gennady was just eating that shot, and Khan got hit once and was almost in a coma. That was a scary knockout that year. That was definitely probably the scariest knockout that year.
No question.
Yeah,
but I'm really interested in the Crawford fight, though. I'm really interested in it. I'm going to watch it. As for Brazil versus Wilder, I'm going to keep it 100. I think Brazil's going to shit himself the moment the bell rings. I think Wilder's just going to blitz him, and Brazil's not going to meet Wilder's head-to-head. I think he's just going to shell up, and I think he's just going to get blasted.
He doesn't have the footwork to get away from Wilder. Wilder can be Wilder on that night. Where like Tyson Fury and Ortiz, they had the pivot, they had the footwork to get away, and sometimes give themselves that distance to get that rest. Where I don't see Brazil being able to do any of that. It's gonna be a dogfight though. I think that they're both gonna just I think they're both just gonna let their hands go, and it's gonna be Wilder landing a big shot, and then it'll be all over. But I think for the first round or two, I think it's gonna be fun to watch.
It's like the best and worst fight for Deontay Wilder, because because of that personal aspect. He's getting to avoid, after dealing with Tyson Fury and how up that fight was, and almost getting the rematch. There's a possibility for a little bit of a down emotionally and in camp, but because it's dominant Brazil, I think he's going to bring a fire to it, but that could work against him in a fight if he decides to make it a shootout and throw everything out the window and explain to us afterwards, I just wanted to, get it even and make it a street fight, which is probably not the best idea, because I think Brazil is going to come with a stick.
And that's the window that they have to look for, Gabriel. In my opinion, Brazil and his team have to look for that window, because Wilder has thrown his whole load and gas out, where he's then very vulnerable. That's when Brazil needs to climb through the window like Debo and take the jewel. That's the only window they have, the only opportunity to get a win over Wilder. But
I think it's catching him coming in. Easier said than done, but I think it's catching him coming in, and I think it's going to be a battle of jabs. Deontay forgets about his and can be dominated, but he can also be dangerous with his jab. So. But still, like you said, he is. I don't know if he's trash, but.
What do you guys? Well, no, I was just joking. But I don't think he's definitely. Yeah, I don't think he's definitely gonna. I just have a feeling his system's going to shut down when the first bell rings. I just think he's going to get overwhelmed.
That first hit,
but
hit he could pull a Mikey Garcia, get hit, and go like, "Oh shit, what did I get myself into?" You know, that's a strong possibility, and I think that might happen. You know, Brazil's gonna go like, "Oh,
yeah." Wilder has that kind of power that, like, I think they used to say it about Marciano, where you could read about it how he would hit people on the arms, and even that would make them think, yeah. Like,
Ernie Shavers
you could feel their power through their block, like through your guard, Like, so I think that's going to affect him mentally. But who do you guys think is going to put on a better performance against their opponent, Miller against Joshua, or Brazil against Wilder?
Oh God, you're putting me against the wall on that one there.
Who's going to what? Who's going to be more exciting or have more?
Who's going to put a better performance?
Oh, I don't know. I think actually, I think Brazil will. I
Mm-hmm.
I think Joshua is going to dominate with that jab and the straighter punches, and welcome him to big time boxing. He's now got experience, and he's now that guy that it looks like it's simple, and you can get to him. And that time Dillian White cracked him, shows his chin may not be all that, but I think Anthony Joshua is a real deal. I said back when the next round was still like on Brian Hardy's couch on videotape on YouTube, I was saying buy stock in Anthony Joshua because he's the man. I stand by that.
He's going to be. I tell you what, Miller's going to get his wish about hamburgers because Joshua Anthony's going to be throwing a lot of ham jabs for him to eat on that night, man.
And the hook. I mean, I think he's going to put on a clinic. He's got good footwork. He can be hit. He can be hurt. It's the heavyweight division, but I just think he's now at that place where he's got experience and he's done some things and seen some things and knows who he is. And Miller, has he won a fight he wasn't supposed to yet? And now you're going to fight the champ? Like I don't know. We skipped the Andrew Galata, what's his name? Michael Grant. At least he, got knocked down by Andrew Galata and then got through it and then stopped the guy. He found out something about himself, and then he went for the title way too soon against Lennox Lewis. But we're like past all that. I mean, how could Adrian Broner, he never really, he's like a 4-division champion, and not really tested. It's just kind of strange to me. But now Wilder, just by being around and defending, he's got that experience now that Brazil doesn't quite have, getting stopped in 7 against Joshua. We'll see. We'll see what that experience did for Brazil coming into this fight. Does he carry it with him in a positive or a negative way? I'm intrigued by that fight. I can't wait to see that fight.
Well, we'll find out pretty soon. Hey, Rob, thanks for calling in, bro. We're gonna patch him another caller, man. Thanks again.
Good stuff, man.
No problem.
Peace.
God, you talk about going way back. I think when Michael Grant stepped in to fight Lennox Lewis, I thought it was over when he said "God bless" before they touched gloves. I was like, "God bless? Why in the hell would you tell this guy you're about to fight? God bless." It's supposed to be in killer mode, my friend. Killer mode, not. Let's shake hands and have a beer after. But anyways, let's pass.
You got to be in. You got any excuses tonight, Roy? That mode.
Yeah, exactly. That kind of mode. That's the kind of mode I like to see my fighters get in. Not God bless you. And then Lennox is like, yeah, God's going to be with you after this. Trust me, and certainly was. Fight fans, you want to call in 347-215-7598. Let's talk boxing here on Leaving the Ring. Who's our next caller here, Gabriel?
I want to go to L.A., man. 818, you're live on Leaving in the Ring. 818?
I think we've just been God bless right now.
Hashtag blessed. Hashtag listening on the freeway, and I guess maybe doesn't want to weigh in. 707, you're live on Leave It in the Ring. 707.
Are we being God blessed all night tonight, or what?
We are. 707. Going. 860, you're live on Leave It in the Ring.
Hey, what's up, you guys? It's CT.
CT. Long time.
Long time. What's going on, my man?
I knew it. I knew that 860.
Yeah, long time. Thanks for putting me on.
A pleasure.
Thanks. Yeah, I'd like to talk about the Lamont Peterson and Duenez fight. I think Lamont had a long career. I just think he didn't have the legs that he once had. You know what I mean? I think he stayed in the pocket a little bit too long, and I think he paid the price. But he had a really good career. Sad story about his upbringing, but very underrated, I think. I think he's just been in a lot of wars, and I think it kind of caught up to him in this fight. And Duenez kept throwing that hard right hand, and he finally caught up with Lamont. And I like how Joe Goosen said, during the fight, Duenez was going to the body, and you could tell Lamont was trying to trade shots with him down there, but I just think Lamont didn't have his legs that night. But all credit to Duenez and a good win.
Man, when you bring up CT that his legs were gone, it's sad because Lamont's career in the beginning was the use of his legs and how he boxed. Like I mentioned early in the show, he was a slick fighter before he became a grind and pound type of fighter. And you could easily see that he was stuck in the mud. Sometimes when you fight that way, it's almost like it became a part of him where he didn't even know how to switch it anymore because he's been so long into like trying to make everybody recognize that he's a warrior to get that respect that I feel that he thinks he lost and he wanted it back so bad. I still give him kudos, man. Like you said, I think he's a very unappreciated warrior, fighter. I think years come that a lot of us are going to be talking about him, like the way we talk about Emmanuel Augustus, Arturo Gatti, Mickey Ward. It's just sad that we never got a chance to see Lamont Peterson kind of get that kind of standout fight that we could talk about, that really got him that limelight that he was, aching and wanting. He didn't get that. He didn't get that defining moment.
Yeah, I agree. I think what also might have kind of hurt him is after the Khan fight when he tested positive. I kind of think that not ruined his career, but people just had it. Were like, oh, what happened? He had a good win, and then all of a sudden gets ruined by that.
Even with all the explanations that he gave, or just explanation, he was pretty forthcoming about it all. It didn't really do much to make fans believe it, that he wasn't doing it to get some sort of edge.
It's kind of tough,
that was my sense. I mean, some
to
people
erase
did.
something like that. Yeah, but I mean, it's tough to erase that. I mean, look at Canelo at the moment. You still see the jabs that come from fans. Is it coming in with the taint?
I think it's even worse now because people are, it's like the fake news thing. People just choose not to believe stuff, regardless of what's in front of their face. And, in boxing too, it's just so tribal that, people don't have to believe it. They'd rather just be angry. CT, it's been a while since we've talked, since the next round, I think.
I'm sorry about that. I'll be honest with you. I think I lost the number by accident. You know what I mean? But good thing I went on Instagram and I found it again, Dave. Thanks.
Well, I mean, we, it's been a year since the next round. We kind of just dropped unexpectedly. I just said, I resigned on Twitter, and that was about it. And hopefully the people, it filtered out, that we weren't doing the show anymore. But boxing was completely different the last time we talked. HBO was still in boxing. They're gone now. There's all these streaming services. I'm curious, are you, I just watched my first fight in the movie theater, the pay-per-view, that just happened. There's a whole new way to watch boxing. I'm curious, how many of those ways are you partaking in? Are you a DAZN guy? Are you buying the Plus? Are you doing all that?
I'm kind of just taking it all in, Gabe. I'm not really sure where to go. Still kind of confused. I'm hearing all these stories and stuff about DAZN and stuff like that. I'm like you guys. I'm kind of old school, so I stick to mainly just watching the premium channels and the pay-per-view. But if this is the new wave of boxing, I might as well just try to see what it's all about.
Yeah, it's a lot to watch. Because it's kind of like we're in the boxing wars right now. We're in the streaming wars right now. And so they're throwing a lot of content at us. Not all of it's great, but a lot of it is developmental. And I think for hardcore fans, that's what they love is to watch a guy through their whole career. I feel like I watched Lamont Peterson through his whole career. And to see it end, it's like it's kind of trippy. And then to see like a youngster like Ryan Garcia, fighting again this weekend, it's kind of see that cycle of fighter lives go. It's kind of a trip.
Yeah, I agree.
I've got all of them. I've got the Plus and the DAZN and Showtime off the Amazon Prime. We're pretty wired in,
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can check that out. Speaking of HBO, I know you guys talked about the Joyce and Dubois fight. That kind of reminds me of one of those. Remember those HBO series of the Night of the Young Heavyweights when they had an up and coming prospect versus another prospect? I like that fight.
Yeah, I think it's a great fight. It was the BBOC ordered that fight for the vacant British heavyweight title, right? I'd like to see that fight. I don't know if they'll actually do it, but it kind of makes sense, right? And I guess Joyce is the WBA gold champion. So they'll be fighting for that belt as well. Very excited. What are you looking forward to most 2019 fight-wise?
I'm not really sure. I mean, if they can make, I'm pretty sure they're going to lean more towards Porter versus Spence. I think that's an interesting fight to watch. Just to see how Spence does with like a bulldog like Porter. He has a great chin, great work rate. I think he negates distance very well and gets on the inside. We'll just see how much he has after feeling a punch from Spence's body shots, or who knows what Spence also showed what he could do with Garcia as well as like box. I actually not talked to him, but left him a message on Instagram where he was going live, Spence, and I was saying that's my first time ever seeing a box like that, and he's like, hey, it's nothing new. You know what I mean? I just never seen that type of style from him yet, but that's good that he showed us fans that he does have other wrinkles to his arsenal that he can box as well. But I will say this, I think with him boxing like that, it will be a little bit different versus Porter because Porter has a little bit more athleticism than Garcia. So, and he's a little bit bigger. I mean, it differs, but we'll see. I like that fight a lot. Or if they can make a later on in the year, I saw what Bob Arum just tweeted out recently. If they could make a Crawford versus Spence, if Spence is successful against Porter and Crawford, which I expect him to be successful against Khan.
The thing about with Spence Jr. and Porter, which I think also is a very interesting fight, and I think exactly, CT, you pointed out the aggression and how Porter's like a little miniature bulldog. He just gets in there, and once he gets a hold of you, he doesn't let go. The only thing, though, I keep falling back and remembering is how dominant Kell Brook looked against Porter with the jab. So if Spence Jr. comes back out the way he did against Mikey Garcia, now granted, Mikey Garcia was a smaller man and couldn't get in the inside, and that was really due because of the jab of Spence. If Spence could bring that jab back into a fight with Sean Porter, it's going to be a very difficult night for Sean Porter, because Sean does have short legs and short arms, and, he needs to get in there. He needs to work in there. And I'm not sure, because of the wear and tear of a man's body that has to rely on muscling his way in, it catches up. And Spence is the far fresher, more talented fighter in the ring. So it could swing both ways. It could either be the test for Spence that we're looking for, or it could be that fights are finally catching up to Sean Porter. And with his last outing, I could be wrong, but I kind of got a little sense that something was catching up with Porter. Maybe that's why we didn't see the best of him on the last outing that we saw with Sean Porter.
Yeah, that's a great point, Dave. Great point.
Yeah, I mean, I'd pick Spence against anybody at welterweight though, including Terrence Crawford. I just think he's the goods, and I think we'll see him at 54 at some point, maybe higher. I mean, he's 29, but I don't think that's impossible. He's got the frame for it, I think, at least for 54. But I guess Thurman would probably be his toughest match, in my opinion. But Crawford, I want to see more of him at welterweight, depending on what he does with Amir Khan. But like, if he stops Amir Khan fast, I mean, Danny Garcia did that. Brady Prescott did that. Kilo did that. Like, what does that that really tell me? Why am I supposed to like unquestionably say that he's the best?
Let me ask you guys this: if he doesn't stop him fast, how many of you guys think the criticism is going to just come barreling in against Crawford?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. I
What about
a lot of criticism?
Yeah, I kind of believe that he's going to get a lot, or if they go the distance, there's going to be a lot to be said. I think there's going to be a lot of questioning around Crawford and how good he is at 147. If he can't get...
If they go the distance with Khan fighting his best fight, that's something. You know, then he gets, I think, much needed experience at the top level. I think he needs more of that, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
So I think it's a good fight for him. It's, you know, if you're building something, particularly, you know, with the ESPN deal, like this is what your best guys in the classic division at welterweight. You're not going to risk him just yet, not until you have to, especially with, you know, the PBC looming there, and with all those guys that you know you'd like to have a piece of, and you just lost Manny Pacquiao, you know, to them. It's going to be slim pickings after that. I mean, you look at everybody else in the WBO. You know, Jesse Vargas is busy with the fight, but Louis Varon, Kerman Laharaga, Giovanni Santillan, Custio Kelton. I mean, like, there's just like Rashidi Ellis is like at number 10 is like the first dude that people are like, all right, I want to see that fight. And then Louis Colazzo at 12. You know, it's not like super exciting what Terrence Crawford has to offer us on Top Rank after this fight. It's going to be real interesting.
Well, let's think about this really quick, okay? Think about this. He was knocked out by Danny Garcia in 2014. He doesn't get knocked out until he steps in the ring with Saul Canelo Alvarez in May of 2016. So there's a time gap there. And now it's 3 years down the line. And 2018, he fought Greco and Vargas, you know. So there's some time off there. That's why I'm wondering. I think that this is a far better fight. I just don't like it that it's on pay-per-view. I think there's a far better fight. And I think that this is a big test for Crawford because Amir still may have a little bit left in him to give him all. I'm not just quite sure if he could pull the upset. And I'm not really quite sure if Crawford – man, it's, you know what? I'm looking at it. I'm just sitting there going, how much of a for sure thing that Crawford can knock out Amir Khan?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I want to know more about him at welterweight.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good point. I like the last caller, what he brought up, too, with the Gamboa situation. I know it was a little while ago, but the hand speed that Gamboa was showing Crawford was giving him a little problems. And I think Crawford is really good at setting traps, so I think that's the way he's going to try to get to Khan. And I think when Khan's been hurt, I think it's been a lot in exchanges where, like you guys said, he kind of flares his arms out. And it's like almost like the same punch pattern where he throws a 1-2-1-2, and then he's not quick enough to get out. You know how Roy Jones, not to compare him to Roy Jones, but Roy Jones is very unorthodox with his delivery where he'll throw hooks and then an uppercut. I don't think Khan throws the same type of delivery, so people are able to read his punch pattern like Garcia and others. So I think Crawford's going to try to probably time him coming in while Khan is getting over anxious with trying to throw a combination. But we'll see.
I'll be curious to see how much if he does, you know, do the southpaw stance as much. I think he's a better fighter as a southpaw, but against Khan, who's got a nice right hand, I'd be curious to see if he just goes right to that to try to take it away.
I wouldn't doubt that he would because Khan hasn't really fought a lefty. Who was the last lefty he's fought?
That's a good question.
Was it Alexander?
Louis Colazzo. No, it was Alexander. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And think about Khan. The thing about Khan, I think once he gets into a rhythm and he stays inside that comfortable rhythm, like we're seeing against Alexander and Colazzo and others, he's very hard to deal with. So you guys are right. We got to see how Crawford does against how he does against Khan once he gets into like a little rhythm.
Did two southpaws back to back in Colazzo and Devin Alexander and beat them both by unanimous decision. So. And, you know, he sparred with one of the greatest southpaws of all time, Manny Pacquiao, quite a few times. So it's, that's also going to be intriguing. If that doesn't work, it's not as effective for the first time. And suddenly, Crawford has to fight as a righty. I don't know if he's the most imposing welterweight in the world. Amir Khan's listed at 5'8.5". He seems taller than that to me. Crawford's listed as 5'8", 74-inch reach. It's it is kind of an intriguing fight. The more I think about it, I've kind of dismissed it. I still don't think it should be a pay-per-view fight, but these guys make that kind of money. Amir Khan's not doing anything for cheap, and he's a recognizable name. He knows what he brings to the table is his name, and the fact that he's in exciting fights. So, we'll see.
Well, CT, thanks for calling in, brother. We're going to patch in some more calls here on Leaving the Ring. Appreciate the call. Fight fans, you want to call in, certainly can. 347-215-7598. Let's talk boxing here on Leaving the Ring. We just finished talking to Amir Khan and Terence Crawford. Tell us what you guys think.
Sorry about that, CT. I cut you off a little quick. 707, you're live on Leaving in the Ring.
Hey, what's up, Gabe? This is Carl.
Carl, how you doing, man?
Man, I'm all right, man. It's been a couple years, man, since I talked to you.
Yeah, about a year now. I would say.
Yeah, probably about a year and a half. Probably 2 years, but a year and a half. Yeah, I just, man, I've been listening, man. Are they even promoting that fight? That Crawford and Khan? I haven't seen anything on that.
I don't watch a lot of ESPN, so I'm probably not the guy to ask. I don't watch a lot of TV, so I don't know about commercials.
Think about it. They haven't really promoted it. They really haven't put it on anything.
Yeah, because I was watching that heavyweight fight the other day, and they flashed a still photo of it, and they didn't really speak on it. And I'm like, when are they going to promote? Because it's not a pay-per-view fight. It seemed like they would take every opportunity to try and promote it, because I ain't buying that shit. I know I ain't.
That's the thing. It should be on ESPN, but like I said, it's the salaries. It's just in boxing, it just shoots itself in the foot. Like being a league and all working together in some sort of collective bargaining agreement would solve problems like this, I think. Get the fighters a union, get them some representation, some retirement, some health benefits, and at the same time kind of regulate the sport, make some money for drug testing and all that good stuff, insurance. It just makes no sense. Instead, we get these pay-per-views.
Well, you still
don't always make the most sense, but a guy's name has been built up over different platforms, and so corporate-wise, he's of value.
You still got about 25 days though left, so they might go aggressive right when we get into April. So there's still a big window there for them to promote this fight. But I think you're right. I haven't seen crap about it, to tell you the truth, except for Bob Sweet to remind everybody that he's fighting Amir Khan.
Yeah, because I know with that Spence and Garcia, Fox did their thing with the promotions on that, man. I just don't see that.
Where'd you see the fight?
You know what? I saw it at the movie theater, man.
I did too. Where'd you see yours at?
Well, I live out in Oakland, man. I was out in Napa, man. I saw it out in Napa. They serve alcohol and everything at the movie theater in Napa.
Nice.
That's the way to go.
Get it out there. I saw it here in the city, in San Francisco. You could bring beer in there, but it didn't seem like the most extensive bar. I was kind of hoping for some whiskey or something, but still, I kind of like the experience. For this one, you get it. I don't even know if it's going to be.
For Gabriel, for a guy that doesn't drink, you sure go for the liver killer, don't you?
Oh yeah. If I'm going to drink, I'm going to do it. I'm going to drink.
You are going. Yeah, exactly.
Now, if I'm going to a dance club, I will do maybe a glass of champagne or something like that. It's kind of light. kind of get you up, or like a vodka Red Bull, something kind of wake you up. But with the fights, I kind of like the brown liquid,
Yeah,
Not too many of them though, because then I want to fight.
Yeah, man. Well, man, it was cool talking to you again, man. I didn't know you guys were back up, man. I'll stay tuned. Man, you know what? To be honest, man, I accidentally hit the number, man, just a minute ago, man, just to see what was going on.
Well, all right. I'm glad you did.
I didn't even know you guys were down, man.
The Leaving in the Ring was gone for a while, and the next round went for a while, and then we had these two other shows that we have on the network that we've been doing. The Boxing Esquire, who's like a boxing manager lawyer who interviews people, Kurt Emhoff, and then Evan Rakowski does the marketing show, Fistianados, talking about boxing from the business side. But Dave and I are back. Dave's got a whole new man cave, and we're ready to stream. So.
All right, man. Well, it's all good, man. I hit you guys up next week or something, man.
Yeah. We'll have to coordinate for the next pay-per-view theater experience.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Talk to you soon, bro.
All right, man. Peace. That was Carl, long-time listener and many-time caller. 209. You're live on.
Hey guys. Hey guys. How you doing? It's Troy from Stockton.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, I watched the heavyweight fights on ESPN. That was a pretty good fight.
Yeah, bloody.
Yeah. Pulev came back from a pretty nasty eye cut, and I thought he was throwing some good shots at the end. But that punch in the back of the head, well, that was a little bit accidental, but. For the most part, that was a pretty entertaining heavyweight fight.
You think it was accidental, or you don't think it was frustration? Got away from him a little bit. I mean,
he was. You know what? He was just teeing off on him, and that guy was still on the ground.
Yeah,
that's the best way I can explain it. He just kept teeing off on him, and guy just didn't stop. But that brings me up to my question about the heavyweights. Joshua, Fury, Joshua, Wilder, I don't see any of those fights happening anytime soon. So that being said, after this fight, Joshua and Big Baby Miller, where do you see him going next? Or I mean, what, I'm sure there's no shortage of people that wants to fight Joshua since he's the money man. Do you see them branching out? Do you see them staying within the DAZN family, or what?
He's on a fight-by-fight basis, so whatever fight is the most money. But at the same time, he's got to satisfy those mandatory defenses. Manuel Shar has the WBA belt. He shares with Joshua, so at some point, I'm sure the WBA is going to want them to fight each other. But then also Dillian White, is the number one contender over there on the WBO. But he's also the number one contender to the WBC. So, with Pulev being with that nasty cut, which looked like it split in like 3 spots almost. It was just his eye exploded. That fight is going to be off the table for a while. So I imagine that's in Dillian White's favor if Joshua goes through the Miller the way I think he will. So I think they'll go in that direction with Dillian White soon. Just looking, I guess, at all the network to try to make a deal, and hasn't landed anywhere.
Okay, with Fury's next fight, with Fury's next fight, isn't the guy he's fighting is like the number one contender?
Tom Schwartz. Schwartz was ranked number 2 in the WBO, and then I think he's ranked 9 in the IBF. But yeah, he's not in a mandatory spot. But there was there's an article on Boxing Scene, an interview with his Tyson Fury's coach. He says, "Look, this is Ben Davidson said you can't win, can you? A few names got sent across. Had a look. We don't adjustment of somebody big in size to somebody small. To have to go back somebody big." Because the 2 elite players that we're looking to make fights with are 6'6" dudes. or plus. That was a criteria that we wanted somebody big. We wanted somebody in the top 5, and who do you got? Pulev is a mandatory for Joshua. He's in line for a big payday. Rivas is 6 foot. Dillian White is in a position we're discussing with ESPN, Fox, Sky, DAZN, which puts him in a position where he doesn't know where he's coming or going. Miller's taken up by Joshua. Brazil's taken up by Wilder. So Tom Schwartz, who's ranked, in the IBF and WBO, that dude, he's also ranked number 11 on BoxRec, although they claim it's now been changed to number 42. But so he's a guy, and he's the right size at 6'5.5". Doesn't seem like he's a knockout artist. I think he's a good choice. I don't think he's a bad opponent for. Looks like giant. So there's
okay.
There's that.
And where do you see Andy Ruiz in all this? Do you see him making a play for at least Wilder?
Kings wise, no. I mean, he's not. He's ranked number 11th by the WBA. I'm just scanning, and that's it.
I don't know where.
Right.
I honestly don't know what they're going to do with him.
Yeah, I don't know where. I don't know where he's at right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ever since he lost to Parker, he went. He just kind of fizzled out, and now he's making his debut again. How many times? Let me ask you this. I can't even remember. I have to look up his record again. How many times would he just come and go? He would fight, and then he would go on a long layoff.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's the thing.
I like Andy a lot. I like his
style.
I like his story. I just don't. Honestly, I don't know what's going on with him. I mean, he got scheduled, and I'm trying to pull it up right now. But he's not ranked. He's not pressing any business right now on TV. And starting out at the top ranks. He's scheduled to fight on 4/20 against Alexander Mitrenko at the Dignity Health Sports Park in Carson, California, in a 10-rounder. So that's a good fight. Dimitrenko is coming off a loss. So that's good for Andy Ruiz. Bad for Dimitrenko. He stopped in 9 rounds against Bryant Jennings last August. So let's bring him around and see what Andy Ruiz can do with him. I think it's an action fight. Dimitrenko's not the dude, but he might give you some rounds. He's been stopped 3 times, 41-4 with 26 knockouts, and he's a big guy, 6'7".
Hey, I also want to ask: was Top Rank coming to Northern California in May? Will any of you guys be making the fight then, or checking it out to see some of the cards?
I'm probably going to end up going.
Jose Ramirez?
Yeah.
Oh, the Stockton.
Yeah,
Are you going?
Stockton, yeah. I already got my ticket. As soon as they announced it, I went straight over there to the arena. Hey, you guys got the tickets yet? They're like, no, not yet.
I'm ready. Here.
Yeah, so I got my tickets.
What's that date? Is that May 4th?
Yeah, May 4th.
Yeah, no, I'll be on stage. I'll be in my show. This is like I started until June 2nd. I'm going to be watching fights on tape delay. So yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
gentlemen.
Because I saw that and Dave and I don't think I've ever. No, we've seen some fights together, but it's not as fans. I'd like to do that. I'm not going as media. I'm never going on Deadline again.
Yeah. We've always been out. We've always went out as media and never get to hang out and have a few beers during the fights. We've always had to stay professional, But not this time. I'll be in Stockton there, all double fisted and everything, bro. I'll be right there with you, double fisted.
You'll blend right in, man. All right, gentlemen. Thank you very much, and I'll let you guys go. Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Peace.
All right.
Yeah, Dave. How did you know I was completely sober when I was ringside? It's amazing. Just stone cold sober.
I used to hate it. I used to really hate it that we had to, that we could. And then I would see other media guys, because, I mean, here's the thing that people don't remember, that when I was doing YouTube, the publicists didn't even respect that. They would laugh. And I would show them how many hits, how many views I was getting. And I literally had to explain what YouTube at the time was, So then when they started finally catching on, the rules somehow didn't apply to them, to the new media guys, because I was told specifically when I started, hey, you can't drink at Media Row, you can't applaud, you can't talk, you can't do certain things, or you're going to be, told to leave. And I want to say a couple years in it, right, I started seeing the new media, having alcohol, jumping up and applauding for their fighter, and even really strange moments. I remember at the Ward, I can't remember, it was Ward and Bika, I want to say. And I remember this one media guy.
I didn't cover that one live.
Yeah, that was in Oakland and at the Oracle. And I remember sitting there, and then this guy turns around and goes, "Who's this guy Andre Ward fighting?" And then I looked at his tag, and he was with the I want to say the Oakland Press. And I was just I was like, what the hell? Like, how are you out here covering this event and you don't even know the opponent that Andre Ward is going to face? So
where were you during fight week?
Yeah, it was strange. And then that's when I saw that I would see guys drinking, and I was like, what the fuck's going on here, man? This ain't even right. I left my wallet in the car, and you know what I mean? But what were you going to say?
I think that's drinking is in boxing, and reporters and boxing writers drinking in boxing. It's like Paul and Hardy, cheese and crackers, PB&J. It just goes together. I was never much of a, like you said, I'm not much of a drinker. So, but Vegas, I mean, everybody has a drink before the thing, and lunch. Not at media events, but then they, I would say, people game before big fights in Vegas if they're not on deadline. If they're on deadline, they don't.
Well, I always had a few after. Cool. I mean, anytime after the event, you know what I mean? After the press conference. After
I also had a system for Mac and for Doghouse was that I had a buddy who wrote Don of Vasella, who was my best man. He would write the card, and then and I would kind of move around and be feel free to watch all fights, but also go do side interviews and kind of move around, be more of a roving reporter during the fights. But then main event time or co-main event to event time, I would lock in, and that I would be the writer from that on, and then he go do his thing. That was kind of the system. He doesn't run anymore, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean things have definitely changed. I mean, you look at a lot of the stuff that is coming out, that's being pushed out, by media. It's different.
I don't. I just try to keep it to read like weeds. I feel like that about media in general. Like the podcasts I listen to are not. They're generally interviews with experts or interviews with reporters covering a particular story for a long period of time. That's what I like. So when I'm looking at my boxing coverage, I want people that are that are actually in the field with the guy, and also that are trained writers or experienced writers, newscasters. I really like Keith Ivey. That guy seems to gather the truth and be too skewed. Kind of a guy I'm reading a lot lately.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you this. And you can always email me at the Leaving the Ring Radio. It's actually leavingthering@gmail.com. And we get a bunch of questions or suggestions. And I don't remember the guy, but he had said, "Hey, what are the podcast shows that you listen to?" And he had mentioned one that he listens to religiously. And I said, I actually have never, I've only heard it once, I think I said, and I never tuned in again. And he was like, "Why?" like he wanted an explanation, and I just explained was like, well, I honestly I don't listen to a whole lot of podcasts, boxing podcasts. I just don't. If it's just opinionated like you just mentioned, I can listen to it a little bit and then I'll tune out. I actually like to listen to something that I'm going to get some type of information that I'm not going to get from anywhere else, or from somebody that actually are going to the fights and they're going to tell me a little bit something. I like kind of stories too. I like a podcast that kind of throws stories and, like Kurt. I like listening to Kurt's interviews because Kurt kind of draws you in the conversation when he's talking to whoever he's interviewing. And he's like mentioning like some backstory and intertwines it into the subject they're kind of speaking on. So it's kind of fun. That's the kind of stuff I like. So, I'm just one of those. I rarely ever listen to other podcasts. I tell you one that I really like is that I like the Boxing Guru, Sal. I really like his show. And I think I mentioned that to him. And the guy was like, "Oh, I've never heard of that one." I'm like, "Well, you got to check it out. It's a really funny show. The guy's pretty funny, he's knowledgeable. So, he's a really fun show that I like to listen to. But it's not everybody's preference. I just don't like it when somebody kind of tries to push the show on you. Like, well, you should listen to this guy, and this guy's great. And I'm like, well, yeah, I tried it, but, I'm strange like that, what I'm trying to say here, Gabriel. I don't even listen to our show after we're done. It's awkward.
No. Yeah, why would I listen to myself?
Yeah.
Well, all right, we're coming down the stretch here. I need to do the fighter wrap or the weekend wrap. Let me make sure I'm on the... All right, Thursday. This is the upcoming boxing TV schedule. Thursday, March 28th, Cowboys Dance Hall in San Antonio, Texas. Actually, I'm not announcing this fight. People can look it up for themselves. I want nothing to do with that promotion. I think you figure out who I'm talking about from there. Saturday, March 30th, 2300 Arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. ESPN Plus. There's a real long fight card, Dave. But Alexander Vodnik versus Dudu Ngumbu. I hope that's how you pronounce his name. Light heavyweights, 12 rounds. Also, Mean Machine takes on the new Ray Robinson, welterweights, 10 rounds. And then there's a million fights on the undercard. Fantasy Springs, Indio, California on DAZN. Ryan Instagram Garcia versus Jose Lopez, lightweights, 10 rounds. That's like your new favorite fighter, would you say? Top 10? Ryan Garcia, Dave? No?
Would he be in my top 10? No. He'd be in my top 10 Instagram fighters. How about that?
I like this card, though. Top 10 Instagram fighters, he is no one. We'll see. This is it's just developmental fights right now, and the right kind of stuff.
Yeah.
His opponent is about the same height as him, and I think that's a good thing. He's not like fighting another midget. He's gonna have to deal with a guy with some boxing skills and some durability. But you got like Nico Garcia.
The good thing they got a good matchmaker, because I think Garcia would have picked the wrong fights too early, too soon in his career if it was up to him. So
you trust the guys that helped Canelo get where he's at. I think we can kind of say that these are guys that know how to develop fighters at this point, and also aren't afraid to risk them, and they make action fights. But this card, you've got like Joette Gonzalez is somebody that's looked forward to in the future. Also Nico Macias rounds the card, and Aaron McKenna, as well as Romel Caballero starts out that card. So, but then you also have at the MNS Bank Arena in Liverpool, England, Liam Smith versus Sam Eggington, and Anthony Fowler versus Scott Fitzgerald, and David Price. Still trying to convince us that he can win at the heavyweight division, or the heavyweight, the top level. He's been stopped a bunch of times. I really don't want to see him get hit in the head.
He really wants to pay the price, doesn't he?
Oh, he does. But he's taking on Cash Ali, probably my favorite name. That's Cash with a K. Cash Ali. Let's see if Price can cash that check come this Saturday. And that is your weekend fight schedule, Dave. That is 25 fights this weekend, Dave. Are we expected to watch all 25 of those fights?
I probably won't because I got a life, but I'm going to try my best not to have a life and watch them all. I will try my best, Gabriel.
I mean, like the zone card, that card has four 12-rounders and a 10-rounder. So those tend to go some rounds. That's a chunk of time.
I want to see, the zone card, definitely the zone I want to watch. I want to see Romel Caballero because we followed the Caballero family for years. They made their, when they signed with Golden Boy, they made their debut on Leaving the Ring. Even before they signed with Golden Boy, if you remember, Randy used to come on Leaving the Ring a lot and talk boxing, and his father, Marcos. So following them, I definitely want to see how the younger brother, who I think has got the goods, how he does.
I'm just saying, okay, this card, the England card, it's in the morning, right? So I'm going to lay down on the couch and or eat or do whatever while that's going on because we want to see these fights. And then what, I'm supposed to do split screen while I'm watching the is that what they all want me to do? I just don't, it's too much boxing, Dave. I'm just trying to say it's too much boxing. And if you did that, if you
never
it,
too much
have
boxing.
you really seen those fights? Have you seen those fights? I don't think so. So I guess it's going to have to extend to Sunday.
It is.
Bottom line, Dave, there's a
Sunday.
lot of
Absolutely.
boxing to be had this weekend.
Yes. Finally, the boxing fans' dream has finally came true. That's now becoming a nightmare for the consumer here in a boxing heart. So anyways, fight fans, hey, man, thanks everybody for tuning in and Leaving the Ring. Appreciate all the calls. We'll catch up with you guys next week. Monday, we'll do the review on this past week's fights. As always, don't drink and drive because you will spill your beer. Gabriel?
Peace.
This is the sound a McDonald's bag makes when you grab it. Now that just sounds like a paper bag, but to Nate, it sounds like... Because Nate hooked himself up like a champ and proved you can save on the delicious food you crave.
Choose 2 for $3, like a McChicken, hot and spicy McChicken, sausage burrito, or sausage McMuffin on the McDonald's $1, $2, $3 menu. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or any combo meal. Single item at regular price.
This is the sound a McDonald's bag makes when you grab it. Now that just sounds like a paper bag, but to Nate, it sounds like... Because Nate hooked himself up like a champ and proved you can save on the delicious food you crave.
Choose 2 for $3, like a McChicken, hot and spicy McChicken, sausage burrito, or sausage McMuffin on the McDonald's $1, $2, $3 menu. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or any combo meal. Single item at regular price.